Hi, welcome to the first episode of Altitude on Air. Today we're going to talk about Azure Information Protection, or in short AIP. What it is, what you need, and why you need it. So, what is AIP? Well, Microsoft says it will protect your information in transit and at rest. And by information, we're all talking about the real business critical data. First, I would like to tell you about some ninjas. We have good ninjas, and that's like my colleagues, Victor and Jon. The real Azure ninjas will help you with anything you want with Azure, strategy or whatever. But we also have the ID ninjas. Those are really bad because they don't really want to get your ID and your identification for users and then eventually get into your data and get your information. But we also have the Oops ninjas. That's your users. A high security risk that neither double firewalls nor the best malware or antivirus program can stop. It's users who accidentally send, share or store documents so they are available to the wrong person. Like in public open Dropbox, for instance. I can tell you a lot of examples, but let's focus on two. The first example. A user creates a document about the coming consolidation and acquirement of another company. In this case, it might be so that some employees will have to go. And it's just a draft they're writing, but it would be disastrous for the company if the information was public to the employees, since nothing is decided yet. Well, the user writes down on his document and sends it to a few people at Human Resources department. Accidentally, the user sends it to a user not in HR. The second example. A sales guy is making a proposal to the customer. As a productive worker, you learn to save it in OneDrive for Business and then share the link instead of sending by email. Or he saves it to a folder. A shared folder that has been shared with the customer for a long time contains a lot of other documents. Then the share is done with an anonymous link option. The customer who receives the links then sends it to another partner of those. Actually a competitor to the sales guy. Because in that folder there are some other documents they need for another project. The competitor that can then read the new proposal. And well, you can understand who will close that in. So you see, things happen, and not because it's complex or the users are stupid. It's easy to share confidential data, and it's easy to share a bit too much. But you know, today we need the possibility to share and easy access information internally and externally, without the complexity from firewalls, triple sign-on, certificates, or VPNs. So what can we do? Well, we need to protect that single document. When that is done, it doesn't matter where the data is stored. It's protected and it's trackable. Not only by the IT department, it's also tracked by the user itself. It doesn't matter if it's stored in your personal OneDrive, in your OneDrive for Business, Box, Dropbox, USB drives, or Gmail. So, is it easy? That's a big thing. It's really easy for the user. In this case, I have a Windows 10 machine. The only thing is done with this is that it's joined to Azure AD. It's not a requirement, of course. I installed Office package on it. The user opens up Word and start typing on her document. And as you can see, I have a bar that tells me to set the sensitivity. And that's actually the classification. So when the user opens up Word with a template or open up another document, you have the possibility to actually classify the document. In this case, as personal, public, internal, or Altitude on Air. And admins can set text, informational text for these classifications. In this case, if I press Altitude on Air, only members of the Altitude on Air group will see these documents. We'll be able to open and edit the documents. I also have set default when a user opens up a document is classified as public by default. In this case, the user can just click Altitude on Air, and the classification will change, or the sensitivity will change to Altitude on Air. Of course, I have the possibility to change it to another one if I want to. The thing is, when I'm using Altitude on Air, instead of any other classification, it will automatically be encrypted or RMS encrypted. I don't have to put any more thoughts about it. I just classify this one. It's really important that only altitude and air, or it could be human resources, finance department, or some kind of management. When I'm using this altitude and air classification, it's also defined that it would set a header for it. Classification, altitude and air only. And this one, as you can see, was removed when I set it back to public. If you look at the file and info, we can see I have the restrict access, and I have the RMS templates in the background restricting all this. Of course, there are some stuff that the IT has to set up before, but for user, they only open up this document, classify it, and save it. And this one I can save directly, of course, to the OneDrive. In my case, I'm just gonna save it to desktop. And that's it. Now the document is protected. The only one who will be able to access it are the ones that are in altitude and air group, and they have the following permissions. And of course, you can build a lot of variety about those templates for the users. That's it. That's the only thing that the user have to take care of. So now we have our document, and the user is going to send it to a certain Molly Clark and to someone called Anders Green. In this case, we're using a cached address, and users are not aware that it's actually not an internal user. So I'm going to attach the file that we recently created on the desktop. As you can see, I have the possibility to actually protect my document, to classify not the document, the email, but we're not going to protect the email. We're going to send it in clear text, and we're not going to classify it more than public, that is set as default, since we already have protected our document. So I'm sending this to an internal user and an external user. So now Molly got her email with the unprotected email with a document within. So we're going to open up just like the regular email with an attachment. And there you go. And as you can see, it still has the sensitivity of altitude and air. And of course, she will be able to see this document because she's a member of that Office 365 group. So what about the external user? Let's go over to the Gmail account. Of course, the same email ends up here. The user open up. Oh, I got a document. Of course, it won't be able to preview this document because it's protected. If I download it locally and open up with a Word, it won't work either. So, to get you started, we need a license for the users. ARP comes in two different plans, and the major difference is that in plan 2, you will have to bring your own key and the automatic classification features included. It is possible to just get the IP licenses, but as you can see, they are included in the EMS E3 and E5, and they are also included in the SPE 5 licenses. And those EMS and SPE packages are the way to go, because they will give you the complete security package for both the identities, information, and the devices. After the licenses are acquired, you can install it on the client, and it's a small exe file. You just download it and install it. Unfortunately, there are no Mac clients at the moment, but I'm sure it will come. So that's it. So you see, encrypting your information is really, really easy, and it's really easy for the users to use. Alright folks, time's up for this time. See you all in the next episode of Altitude on Air.